following Article 51 in the UN Charter's Part 7, after the Russian Federation Council's approval and the Federal Assembly's ratification of treaties with Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics on February 22nd, I've decided to start a special military operation. The objective is to safeguard individuals who have endured mistreatment and acts of genocide at the hands of the Kiev administration for a duration of 8 years. In pursuit of this, we are committed to the demilitarization and disarmament of Ukraine, along with ensuring that those responsible for a multitude of heinous offenses against non-combatants, encompassing citizens of the Russian Federation, are held accountable. At the same time, our plans do not include the occupation of Ukrainian territories. We are not going to force anything on anyone. At the same time, we hear that recently in the West, words have been increasingly heard that the documents signed by the Soviet totalitarian regime that consolidated the results of World War II should no longer be implemented. The results of the Second World War, as well as the sacrifices made by our people on the altar of victory over Nazism, are sacred. But this does not contradict the high values of human rights and freedoms, based on the realities that have developed today over all the post-war decades. It also does not abrogate the right of nations to self-determination enshrined in Article 1 of the UN Charter. Let me remind you that neither during the creation of the USSR nor after the Second World War, no one ever asked people living in certain territories, included in modern Ukraine, about how they themselves wanted to organize their lives. I strongly appeal to the citizens of Ukraine as well. Back in the year 2014, Russia made a solemn promise to protect the individuals residing in Crimea and Sevastopol from those whom you refer to as Nazis. The residents made a decisive choice to rejoin with their historical motherland, which is Russia. We stood behind it. Once more, they had no other choice. The occurrences of today have nothing to do with an intent to encroach upon Ukraine's interests or its citizens. Rather, they pertain to the protection of Russia from those who have seized control of Ukraine and aim to wield it as a weapon against our nation and its people. I reiterate, our measures are a form of self-protection against the dangers posed to us and to prevent a catastrophe far worse than the current situation. No matter how hard it is, please understand this. And I call for cooperation to turn this tragic page over as soon as possible and move forward together. Let no one interfere in our affairs, in our relationships, but build them ourselves, so that this creates the necessary conditions to overcome all problems. And despite the presence of state borders, it would strengthen us from within as a single whole. I trust it. This is exactly our future. I must also appeal to the military personnel of the Ukrainian armed forces. Dear comrades, your fathers, grandfathers and great-grandfathers did not fight the Nazis, defending our common homeland, so that today's non-Nazis would seize power in Ukraine. You swore an oath of allegiance to the Ukrainian people, and not the anti-people juntas that rob Ukraine and mock these very people. Do not follow their criminal orders. I urge you to immediately lay down your arms and go home. Let me explain. All servicemen of the Ukrainian army who fulfill this requirement will be able to freely leave the combat zone and return to their families. Once again, I strongly emphasize that all responsibility for possible blood washing will be entirely on the conscience of the regime ruling on the territory of Ukraine. Now a few important, very important words for those who may be tempted from the outside to intervene in the ongoing event. Anyone who attempts to meddle in our affairs, or even worse, poses a threat to our nation and our citizens, must understand that Russia's retaliation will be swift and direct, resulting in repercussions unlike anything you've previously experienced in your history.